When my daughter was just 8 months old, my husband walked out. No warning, no fight, no goodbye, just a slammed door and a suitcase rolling down the stairs. I'm Marina Cole, and this one is the story of how I lost everything. My marriage, my home, and even the love of the family that raised me. I once believed life couldn't take everything away at once. But I was wrong. That night, I found a folded note left on the kitchen table. The words were short. Cruel, final. I can't do this anymore. Don't make this harder by calling. My hand shook as I read it. Clara resting in my arms, her tiny fingers wrapped around mine. Her soft breath against my chest, the only thing anchoring me as my world fell apart. I whispered to her, "Don't worry, I'll keep you safe, my baby. Even if I have to bleed, break, and beg the world to do it." The next morning, I packed what little we had left. 2 bags of clothes, a stroller, and Clara's favorite blanket, the one dotted with faded yellow stars. I had nowhere to go, except my parents' house. If anywhere was safe, surely, it would be there. When the door opened, my mother's eyes fell on me, the way a stranger sizes up an unwelcome guest. "Marina," she said flatly, her gaze shifting to the stroller. "You should have called first." I forced a smile, though my lips trembled. "Mom, he left. I don't have anywhere else, just for a while, please." She sighed, stepping back. "Fine, but don't expect comfort. We don't have space for chaos." Inside, my father barely looked up from his newspaper. "Back already?" he muttered, voice dry. "As if you didn't make enough mistakes before." Every word landed like a stone on my chest. I wanted to scream that I wasn't the one who broke vows, that I wasn't the one who left a child behind. But I bit my tongue, because Clara needed a roof, more than I needed to fight. They gave me back the room where I once dreamed. Now nothing but boxes stacked in corners, a stale mattress sagging in the middle, dust covering shelves where my childhood trophies once stood. "This will do for now," my mother said coldly, like she was offering shelter to a stranger, not her daughter. I spread a blanket on the bed, set Clara's crib beside me, and whispered in the dark. "This used to be Mommy's room, but it's ours again now. Somehow, we'll make it home." Clara's soft coo was the only answer. Days blurred into weeks. At dawn, I left Clara with a neighbor who agreed to babysit for a small fee. Then I dragged myself to the factory, hands blistered, shoulders aching, just to earn enough for diapers and formula. But every night when I came home, I was greeted with the same stares. Cold, judging, unforgiving. "Why can't you be more like your brother?" my mother asked one evening as I wiped sweat from my forehead. "Daniel has a real career, a real family. He doesn't bring shame to our name." Daniel, the golden child, the one who got their support for college, the one with the polished job, the perfect wife, and the newborn twins who became the apple of their eyes. I didn't envy him, but every time they measured me against him, it was like salt in an open wound. When Daniel visited, the house came alive. Fresh sheets laid on his bed, new toys stacked in the living room. My parents buzzing around his children like bees to flowers. And Clara? She was hushed when she cried, scolded for being too noisy, treated like a shadow, as if her very presence was an inconvenience. I pulled her close, whispering into her soft hair, "You matter. Even if they don't see it, I do. You're my everything." But the walls of that house were closing in, and I felt it. The night that broke me came quietly. I'd just returned from a 14-hour shift, body aching, face damp with sweat. My father stood at the door to my room, arms crossed, his voice sharp, deliberate. "Marina, you've been here long enough. This isn't your home. Not anymore. Daniel and his kids need the space more than you. You'll have to leave in 2 weeks." I froze, Clara asleep against my shoulder, her tiny hand clutching my shirt. "Leave?" My voice cracked. "Dad, where will we go?" "She's just a baby." "That's your problem?" He cut me off. "You made your choices. Stop leaning on us and handle your own mess. We can't carry your burden forever." Burden. That was the word that pierced deeper than any knife. I wasn't a daughter. Clara wasn't a granddaughter. We were just weight, dragging their golden family down. That night, I gripped Clara against my chest, my tears falling into her soft hair. Her innocent face pressed into me, as if she knew my heart was breaking. I whispered through tears, "I don't know how, but I'll protect you, even if the whole world turns its back on us." As I stared at the peeling walls of the room I once called mine, I realized home wasn't here anymore. Maybe it never had been. And that night marked the true beginning of my story. This is Revenge Repaid, where betrayal isn't the ending. It's just the beginning. 2 weeks. That's what my father gave me. 2 weeks to leave the house I once called home. Time passes differently when you're waiting for an ending. Every sound feels sharper. Every glance feels heavier. Every second reminds you that the clock is running out. At first, I thought I could figure it out on my own. Maybe I'd save enough from my factory shifts to rent a room. Maybe a miracle would fall into my lap. But reality doesn't care about maybe. My paycheck barely stretched to diapers, formula, and a babysitter. By the time I paid my parents the contribution they demanded for food and electricity, I had nothing left. No savings. No backup plan. One night, as I placed a bottle in Clara's mouth, my mother appeared in the doorway, arms folded. "Marina, do you think this will last forever? You're draining this household, Daniels. Children need a stable place when they visit. Why can't you just accept reality?" Her words stung, not because they were cruel, but because she believed them. To her, Clara and I were intruders. Temporary, replaceable. The final blow came sooner than I expected. I came home one evening after a double shift, exhaustion heavy in my bones. My father stood waiting in the hallway, suitcase at his side. "Your time's up," he said flatly. "Pack your things. We need this room for Daniel's family." I felt the blood drain from my face. "Dad, please, Clara's sick. She's teething. Just a little more time." He didn't flinch. "You'll manage. You always claim you're strong. Now prove it." That night, I packed the same 2 bags I'd carried when I first came. Clara's crib, her little bear, her blanket with yellow stars. And as I stepped out into the cold night air, the door closed behind me without hesitation. No hug, no goodbye, not even a second glance. The streets don't welcome you kindly. The first night, Clara and I huddled under a bus stop, the wind cutting through my thin jacket. Her cries pierced the silence, her body trembling with cold. I held her close, whispering, "Shh, it's okay, baby. Mommy's here." But inside, I was breaking. The second night, I wandered aimlessly until I found a church with a soup kitchen. A kind woman pressed bread into my hands, her eyes full of pity. "Here, my child. May this help you and your little one tonight." Her kindness made my throat tighten. Strangers showed me more love in 2 days than my own parents had in years. I tried to work. I tried to fight. But who hires a woman who arrives with a baby strapped to her chest? Clothes worn thin, eyes red from sleepless nights. I went to grocery stores, cafes, gas stations. Everywhere the answer was the same. "Sorry, we need someone more reliable." Translation: someone without a baby. Clara's needs grew, but my options shrank. My last coins went to diapers. My last scraps of pride went to begging at the clinic when Clara caught a cough from the cold nights. "She needs a warmer place," the doctor said gently. "I know," I whispered, but where could I take her? By the 3rd week, we had nowhere to go but beneath a bridge on the edge of town. The concrete smelled of damp earth and gasoline. Old mattresses and cardboard were strewn across the ground. Other homeless souls gathered there, men with tired eyes, women clutching coats too thin for winter. One of them, a woman named Teresa, noticed me shivering with Clara in my arms. She handed me a frayed blanket. "Wrap her tight. The nights get cruel here." Her voice was rough, but her gesture was pure. Down there, among society's forgotten, I found more humanity than in my own bloodline. Nights were the worst. The roar of traffic above. The sting of wind slicing through torn fabric. The sound of Clara's cough, weak yet constant. I rocked her endlessly, whispering, "Stay with me, Clara. I promise I'll find a way." Because I refused to let hunger and cold define her story. But deep inside, fear gnawed at me. Was this the life she would grow up in? Would she remember her childhood as hunger and cold? Her story would not be written in suffering. And if you're listening to this right now, If betrayal or hardship has ever made you feel powerless, know that you're not alone. My story began under that bridge, but it didn't end there. And neither will yours. If you believe in second chances, in justice after betrayal, make sure you subscribe to Revenge Repaid, because stories like mine, they deserve to be told. But at that moment, I didn't know any of that. All I knew was survival. Rain lashed down one night, drumming on the concrete, soaking through our thin blankets. Clara's wails blended with the thunder, my arms straining to keep her warm under my jacket. I whispered through chattering teeth, "Hold on, baby. Mommy's here. Just hold on." I thought we'd reached the very bottom. But I was wrong. Because the storm that night brought someone I never expected. A shadow in the rain. A woman I thought had died years ago. And with her, the truth that would change everything. The sky tore open, unleashing a storm like none before. Sheets of rain hammered the concrete, pooling at my feet. I clutched Clara against my chest, her cries muffled by the thin jacket I wrapped around her. For a heartbeat, lightning lit the sky, turning the darkness under the bridge into day. That's when I saw her. A figure stood just beyond the downpour, holding an umbrella, dressed not in rags but in an elegant black coat. Out of place. Too clean. Too deliberate. At first I thought she was lost. Or worse, pitying us the way strangers sometimes did before hurrying off. But then she stepped closer. Her voice, low but clear, cut through the storm. "Marina?" My heart jolted. How did she know my name? I stared, confused, rain dripping down my face. Who are you?" She removed her hood, revealing silver hair tied in a neat bun, eyes sharp as steel but softened by tears. "My name is Evelyn Cole," she said. "And I am your grandmother." The world seemed to tilt. I almost laughed. What kind of cruel joke was this? "My grandmother's dead," I snapped, tightening my grip on Clara. "My father told me she died before I was born." Her lips trembled, but her gaze didn't waver. "No, Marina, I was never dead. Your father, my son, banished me from his life. He wanted you to believe I was gone, because the truth was too inconvenient." The rain roared around us, but her words thundered louder inside me. I shook my head, fighting back tears. No, that can't be true. Why would he make up something so cruel? Her answer was simple. Because greed makes liars of men. She stepped closer, her umbrella sheltering both Clara and me. "Your father stole everything I built. My savings, my property, my name. He told everyone I was gone so no one would come looking for me. Even as I built a new life, I carried the weight of knowing the truth would one day break free. I couldn't breathe. My father, the man who called me a burden, who cast me out without hesitation, he'd betrayed not only me but his own mother. And now," Evelyn whispered, her eyes glistening, "I see history repeating itself. He cast you out the same way he cast me out. But I won't let it happen again." My knees gave out and I sank to the wet ground. Clara whimpered, her tiny face pressed into my neck. Evelyn knelt beside me, her coat soaking in the mud, her voice breaking. "Let me stand by you, Marina. Let me stand by my great-granddaughter, too. Please, don't turn away from me as he once turned away from me." I stared at her, torn between disbelief and desperate hope. You're really my grandmother?" She nodded. "I've waited too many years to hold my family again. Don't steal from me the chance to make things right." Her hands trembled as she reached for Clara. For a moment, instinct made me pull back. But then I saw the tears in her eyes, the same shade of brown as mine. Slowly, I let her cradle Clara, the old woman's arms steady, her lips pressing against my daughter's damp hair. "She looks like you," Evelyn whispered. Strong, even in the storm. That night, she didn't leave us under that bridge. She led us to a black car parked nearby, its driver waiting silently in the rain. I stepped inside, shivering, clutching Clara. The warmth of the leather seats felt almost sinful after weeks of cold concrete. As the car pulled away, Evelyn sat beside me, watching quietly as I tried to process everything. "You don't have to believe all of it tonight," she said gently. "Just believe that you're not alone anymore." For the first time in months, I allowed myself to close my eyes. When I woke, the car had stopped in front of a sprawling estate. White stone pillars rose into the stormy night, windows glowing with golden light, It looked like something out of another world, a world I didn't belong to. "Welcome home," Evelyn said softly. I stared at her, stunned. This is yours?" She nodded. "What your father tried to destroy, I reclaimed. This is the world he kept hidden from you." She touched my hand. "And now, Marina, it's yours to step into. If you're willing." Inside, warmth engulfed us. Servants hurried forward, offering towels, food, blankets. But Evelyn waved them back. "She doesn't need servants," she said firmly. "She needs a family." That night, I bathed Clara in a marble tub, fed her warm milk, and laid her down on silk sheets. For the first time in weeks, her breathing was soft, steady, safe. As I sat at the edge of the bed, Evelyn entered quietly. "You've endured hell itself," she whispered. "But in your eyes, I see the spark that once burned in mine. I brought you here to rise, not to hide. I brought you here to rise. To rebuild, to seize back everything that was denied to us." I looked up at her, my heart pounding. "A chance? Doing what?" Her lips curved into the faintest smile. "Running an empire, my empire, forged from fire, loss, and survival. Now I need someone I trust to carry it forward. And blood alone is not enough. Strength is. You've already proven you have it." My breath caught. From the cold streets to the edge of an empire, how could I possibly belong here? But as I looked at Clara, sleeping peacefully for the first time in weeks, I knew I couldn't turn back. I whispered almost to myself, "I'll do whatever it takes. For her. For us." And Evelyn's eyes gleamed with quiet pride. "Then tomorrow, Marina, your new life begins." The next morning, I woke not to the sound of traffic above a bridge, but to sunlight spilling through velvet curtains and the soft hum of a world I'd never known. For a heartbeat, I believed I was dreaming. Then Clara's laughter filled the room, bright and unrestrained. She sat in a crib lined with silk, clutching her yellow-starred blanket, the only reminder of where we'd come from. And I realized, this wasn't a dream. It was a second chance. Evelyn wasted no time. That very day, she took me to her offices, a towering building in the heart of the city. Cole & Co., a publishing and fashion empire known for glossy magazines, elegant branding, and a reputation that stretched far beyond our state. "Everything you see," she told me, her heels clicking against marble floors, "was rebuilt from nothing, just like you will rebuild yourself." At first, I felt out of place among polished executives and editors in sharp suits. I was a factory worker, a single mother with worn hands and sleepless eyes. But Evelyn didn't coddle me. She tested me. "Sit in on meetings," she ordered. "Learn, listen, fail if you must, but never quit." So I listened and I learned. I took notes until my wrists ached. I stayed late, asking questions no one expected from a beginner. Weeks turned to months, and slowly something shifted. I began contributing ideas. At first small, layout changes, color themes, slogans. Then larger, campaign strategies, partnerships, new magazine concepts. To my surprise, people listened. And not just because of my grandmother's name, but because my ideas worked. By the end of the year, I was no longer just Evelyn's granddaughter. I was a rising force in her company. Of course, success never comes without whispers. "She's only here because of Evelyn. She's nothing but a charity case." I heard it all, but every sneer only fueled me. Because I knew the truth. I'd crawled through dirt and rain to get here. And no one, no executive, no parent, no sibling, would ever tell me I didn't belong again. Clara grew alongside my rise. She toddled through Evelyn's mansion, her laughter echoing through the halls. For once, she wasn't shushed or scolded. She was celebrated. Evelyn poured love into her, but into me. She poured wisdom, the art of balancing motherhood with leadership. "Strength isn't about choosing one or the other," she said. "It's about refusing to give up either." And I believed her. Years passed, and with them came transformation. By my third year at Cole & Co., I was leading entire projects. By the fifth, I was named vice president. By the seventh, after Evelyn chose to step back, I became CEO. The girl who once rocked her baby under a bridge now signed contracts worth millions. The woman who was called a burden now carried an empire on her shoulders. But the past, the past has a way of knocking on the door when you least expect it. It happened at a gala. I stood beside Evelyn, greeting guests in shimmering lights. Clara, now a radiant young girl at my side. And then I saw them, standing like ghosts from another life. My parents. My father in his stiff suit. My mother clutching her pearls. And behind them, my brother Daniel, his face pale, his smile forced. For a moment, time froze. The same people who threw me out now walked toward me, hands outstretched, voices dripping with forced warmth. "Marina!" my mother exclaimed. "Oh, darling, we've missed you. See? We always knew you'd do well." Eventually, my father nodded, but the pride was nothing more than a mask, hiding the poison he'd already poured into my life. "You've done well, truly. Perhaps we can reconnect as a family?" Their words were sweet, but their eyes betrayed them, greedy, calculating. They hadn't come for me. They'd come for what I now had. Before I could speak, Evelyn stepped forward, her voice cutting through the murmurs. "Reconnect?" she repeated, her tone sharp. "You abandoned her. You cast her out with a child in her arms. And now you dare show your faces here?" The crowd fell silent, all eyes turning. My father's smile faltered. Just for a second, but in that instant, I saw the fear he couldn't hide. We thought it was best at the time. We had responsibilities. Responsibilities? Evelyn's voice rose. Your responsibility was your daughter. Your granddaughter. But you chose favoritism. You chose greed. Just as you chose to betray me decades ago. And with it, you handed me the power to decide your fate. Gasps rippled through the room. My father paled. "You don't understand." "No!" Evelyn snapped. "We understand perfectly. Marina succeeded not because of you, but in spite of you." She turned to me, her eyes fierce. "This empire, this legacy, it is hers. Not yours. Never yours." In that moment, I felt the years of pain, hunger, and cold collapse into clarity. I looked at my parents, the people who were supposed to protect me, and realized they were nothing more than strangers tied by blood. I spoke softly but firmly. "You called me a burden. You threw us out like garbage. But look around you. I've built something greater than your small hearts could ever imagine. And you're right about one thing. I don't belong in your family. 'Cause family is not blood. Family is love. And love is what you never gave me." My mother's face crumpled. My father lowered his gaze. "And Daniel?" He had no words. Evelyn placed a hand on my shoulder, her voice steady. "From this day forward, everything I own belongs to Marina and her daughter. My will is already written. My legacy is secured. And none will ever take it away again." The silence that followed was louder than thunder. My parents left that night with nothing but shame. And I? I stood taller than I ever had before. Now when I look back, I don't see tragedy. I see a path. A brutal, merciless path that stripped me bare, only to rebuild me stronger. I whisper the same words to Clara that I once whispered under the bridge, but with a new meaning now. You're my everything. And together, we are unbreakable. This is Revenge Repaid. And this was my story. If this story moved you, touched your heart, or gave you strength in your own battles, I invite you to join our growing community here at Revenge Repaid. Subscribe now, turn on the notification bell, and be the first to hear more powerful stories of betrayal, justice, and transformation. Your support helps keep these voices alive, and together, we'll continue shining a light on resilience, courage, and redemption.